Hello all, I'm Sai and you're watching The Book Dragon. Are you a person who's struggling to speak in front of a group of people or public speaking in general? Then you are into the right video, because in today's video I have 10 tips which you can follow in order to make your public speaking even more effective and better. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. Before we actually get into the tips, I want to make clear that what experience I have in public speaking. Okay, I've been practicing public speaking for nearly 4 years now, 3 years in college and 1 year in work. In the 3 years in college, in the first year was the time when I struggled a lot because I didn't know how to do public speaking. I just had the guts to do it, but I didn't know how to do it. But I didn't hesitate. I just went forward and did certain stuff which was a lot not well received, and I tried to implement certain techniques which did help me a lot in the next 2 years. By the end of the third year, I came out as a very confident speaker. And also there is another great thing which I got due to my public speaking, which was in the second year of my college. My college selected me and a group of other people, and we were spent money on and taken to meet Kiran Bedi in Pondicherry, and we presented certain things in front of her. My time slot was just 30 seconds, guys. You won't believe me. I was allowed to speak only for 30 seconds, and it was such a restricted time. Okay, they said that 30 seconds is the time that you actually get, but when we get there, it can get cut down even more, and it didn't cut down, luckily for me, and I did speak a lot in front of her. And I should say that the audience there was very much impressed, and they just enjoyed the 30 seconds in which I spoke. There was a lot of stuff which I put in those 30 seconds. I think that's what is most required when you come to public speaking. And I also read this incredible book, which is The Quick and Easy Way to Effective Speaking, last month, and it has proved me that I'm so sad that I didn't read this while I was in college, but I'm so glad that I've read it right now. And if you're a person who's struggling to speak in public, I'd highly recommend you to read this. And the 10 tips that I'm going to speak about today are from this book. And also after the 10 tips, I'm going to share some of my personal experiences. So if you want to get certain things that I learned from my own experience, do stick on until the end of the video, because there's a lot I have to talk about in this video. Tip number 1. This is the most important tip, that's why I've put it on the top, which is you have to envision yourself speaking in front of an audience before actually speaking in front of an audience. And there are certain steps which you can follow in order to do this thing, which is, before starting your speech, you have to imagine the things that I'm going to say right now. Imagine that your audience are interested in you and they are so attentive that they hush down when you're just going onto the stage. Okay, and just feel the attentive absorption of the audience of what you're speaking. Every reader who's optimistic as well as very much persevering and engaging with the audience will make the audience absorb a lot from them, and they'll also keep the audience very much attentive. You have to keep this in mind while you're going to speak. And also, before starting the speech itself, envision yourself that you're getting a warm applause from the audience that is going to fill your heart with a lot of pride and warmth from the speech that you've just delivered. Tip number 2 is that you have to seize each and every moment which you get in order to speak. Okay, this can be easily done by certain things which I'm going to say right now. The next time you're going to get an opportunity to speak, okay, it might be even tomorrow or after you're going to college or office, after everything gets done over here. What I'm saying is, next time you're getting a chance to speak in your classroom or in your college, just don't hesitate. If you're offered an opportunity, don't hesitate at all. You might do it horribly, but you have to do it. You have to start at some point. Keep that in mind and just do it. And the next time you're in a meeting and your manager or your supervisor or your head asks something to speak to your team, if there's no one else volunteering, just go ahead and do it. It might be horrible. It might not be the perfect speech, but you have to start at some point. So just go and do it. Tip number 3 is that you have to always remember that a person who appears confident while speaking in public is a person who's well prepared. In order to appear confident and in order to make your speech a lot more confident, you have to prepare a lot. Homework is very much important before delivering any speech. And also keep this in mind. While you're trying to build up a speech, don't ever memorize anything word by word, because it'll be a tragedy for sure. While you're memorizing something, it's not going to be popping up in your mind the right way when you're speaking in a public, because just remember this, speaking in public is just so similar to speaking with any people that whom we know for a longer period of time. While the thought of memorizing something comes up in your mind, always remember this thing which I'm going to say right now. We have been speaking spontaneously throughout our lives, okay? So there is no need to memorize anything in order to deliver it in a proper way. You just have to be spontaneous and don't ever memorize anything. Number 4 is one which you have to keep in mind always, which is, I told you to prepare in the previous tip, but while preparing you must keep this in mind, because a lot of people tend to memorize what they are actually trying to say, because they think that some of the important things which they are trying to deliver might be forgotten in their mind. Always keep this in mind. When you're delivering something that is memorized, it always comes out mechanical, because it comes out from the memory. But when you feel something, when you have a connection with something that you're going to speak about, it's going to come out in a magical way, because it's going to come out from your heart, not just from your memory and your mouth. Okay, always try to feel the thing that you're actually going to deliver, and it will be magical in every sense. The next step is a very simple tip, and you can do it at any time before any speech, which is just take deep breaths for at least 30 seconds before you're going to face your audience. Now, you might be called on to speak in front of an audience at any time. Okay, just keep this in mind. If you know it in advance, always take deep breaths. Okay, take deep breaths, calm yourselves down. The oxygen that goes into your body, it will just calm each and every tissue in your body, and it will make it come to a normal state. You will not be tense, you will not be anxious, you will not blabber, you will not stutter. Nothing of these will happen. There's another tip which you can follow. Just have a sip of water before you're going to speak anything. I always have a bottle of water beside me while I'm making my videos, because I'm going to shoot for a longer period of time. It's going to be like 3 to 4 hours while I film certain videos, and it's not possible for my throat to be wet always when I'm speaking. It might become dry, because I keep on talking for a lot of time. So always take a sip of water before speaking. The next tip that I'm saying is also a lot related to the research part, which is, while you're researching, you collect a lot of facts, right? But while delivering the speech, you need to be confident that the thing that you're actually speaking about is the right thing. Okay, in order to test your confidence, you can do this thing. Or if you find your confidence lacking behind, just imagine the scenario and ask yourself a question. Now, the scenario is that while you're delivering a speech, just imagine that one of the audience member just rises up. He or she stands up, and they meet you eye to eye and ask you a question opposing the thing that you actually said. If you're able to give a reply to the audience convincing enough and constructive enough, then I'm sure that your speech is really good. You just have to be confident enough. The next step is that while you're doing a research, there are a lot of facts which will actually come in. Okay, maximum try not to include numbers and take the fact alone. While you're presenting a fact, try not to memorize the facts in your mind. Again, memorization is a big blunder which people get to do a lot of times when it comes to public speaking. When you memorize certain things, there's a lot of chances that you'll mix things up and you'll deliver them in the wrong way, and it might even lead to certain catastrophic events, like the audience might know the right answer, but they'll just offend you in a public way, which will bring down your confidence. Always present facts as they are, and also don't ever memorize facts. Okay, the next two things which you have to keep in mind is to grab the attention of the audience while you're speaking. These two tips will definitely help you a lot in doing that. The first step is that you have to create a suspense in order to grab the attention of your audience. Okay, always if you put up a suspense in the beginning of your speech or talking, it will definitely grab a lot more attention than a speech which you begin in a normal way. Always try to keep some element of surprise in the beginning of your speech, and just try to add on and build up that suspense for the next few minutes. For like, if you're speaking like for 10 minutes, try to build up the suspense for like nearly 5 minutes, and from the 6th minute you have to start untying the knots. Just untie the knots and then reveal the big picture at the 9th or 10th minute, which will definitely make your audience be invested in your speech throughout the time, and I'm sure that you'll make a great impact in the mind of your audience. The next tip is one which can be easily done in most of the speeches that you're going to make. While you're speaking about something, if it is something that you can grab in your hand, try to grab it as a prop and then display it to your audience, because always things which you show to the audience, they'll grab a lot more attention. That's one of the main reasons why I held the book in the beginning of the video in my hand. I showed it like this, then I put it in the back, because while I show you the book, I tell you that these things which I'm going to speak about in this video are going to be from this book. So you automatically feel invested to know a lot more about the tips from that book. And I'm sure that it is a great book. That's why I held it in my hand and I used it as a point of attraction to my audience. It will always help a lot in order to grab the attention of your audience and make them feel invested throughout your speech. The 10th and last tip is the most important you have to keep in your mind. Even if you don't follow all these tips which I have told from the beginning, the first 9 tips, you might follow them in a perfect way, but if you don't follow this 10th tip in a proper way, I'm sure that you'll be a failure when it comes to speaking, because this is something which matters the most in any sort of speaking, and it is, you have to respect your audience. Don't try to display any little form of insult to the audience, because a person who's insulted, they will not at all definitely pay attention. Okay, even if it's, I'm going to just think of me. Okay, if I'm going to start watching a YouTube video and it seems like the speaker tends to humiliate me in the beginning of the speech itself, it might even change my life, but I don't want to watch that anymore, because everyone has that self-respect, right? So you should not harm that in any way. Always be as much respectful to your audience as you can, and deliver that in a modest and honest way. It will always grab your attention of your audience, and they'll also be very much invested during the time which you speak. If you stuck up until now, it's great, because now I'm going to share 5 of my personal tips which I have learned from actual experience. And the first one which I'd like to say is something which I learned from my first presentation ever in college. There was this paper presentation competition, and I and my friend, we both participated together as a team. The only thing which we missed in that competition is that we didn't know the time constraint. The time was actually 7 minutes, but we went on rambling, and we actually lost our position due to not knowing the time constraint. So you'll not believe me, every time after I did that presentation, the first thing which pops up in my mind is the amount of time that I have in order to speak. So what I always do is I set up a timer and then rehearse. Now if the time constraint is just 5 minutes and I'm going to speak about things in say 10 slides, then I'm going to not speak for more than 30 seconds in each and every slide, because the time matters the most. And I should tell you, ever since I lost that competition and implemented this strategy, there is not even a single competition in which I have not won, and I have not made an impact on the audience as well as the judges. My next personal tip is something which everyone can very easily do. Okay, one of the things which I'm very proud of while speaking is my voice, because that's the only tool which I'm going to use while speaking, and it needs to be loud enough. Always keep that in mind. While you're speaking something, it must be audible to the person who's sitting in the last row. Okay, it should not just be audible for the audience who are in the first few rows. It must reach the last person in the room or the gathering, and they must hear your sound. That's the main thing. Always be loud, and just don't yell for the sake of being loud. The third thing which I follow, this is also very much doable for everyone who just has a mobile phone. What you have to do is, while you're practicing or rehearsing, just try to record what you're doing. Okay, it's better if you record it in the rear camera. I always do it in that way. And also, even while I present in certain competitions, or I do certain presentations with my friends, what I do is, there will be other members of the audience, right? I'll just give them my phone and I'll ask them to shoot the entire performance of mine. Why I do this actually is to look how I actually to see how I actually look when I'm presenting certain things. The first thing which I noticed in my first year of college was that while I spoke something, it was a lot of passion in my speech. There was a lot of passion in my speech, but my face was like so serious. It was so stern. I didn't look like I was enjoying the thing that I was doing at all. So the next thing which I learned is that don't ever keep a stern face while you're trying to convey certain things to any people. Always be lit, be joyful, be happy, and tell everything from your heart. The fourth tip that I'm going to tell about is also a very, very, very effective one, but it might not be suitable for everyone, because this is not a thing which is comfortable to do. Okay, while you're alone, that's the most of the time I practice everything that I'm doing alone, because while there is some other person in front, I cannot rehearse at all. It's very, very difficult for me. So what I always do is, while I practice alone, when I'm not performing in a team, okay, I'm going to do something separately, what I always do is, we have this dressing table or bureau mirror in my home always. I just go stand in front of it, lock the door. I tell my parents and brother not to come in for like 10 to 15 minutes, and I just speak in front of the mirror. That helps a lot, because while you're speaking in front of the mirror, there's no other audience except yourself. So you'll be seeing your face eye to eye, and you will be able to understand what are the things that you're actually doing wrong and what might seem uncomfortable for the audience. You can just see it as the audience itself, and it will help you a lot in order to improve your body language while speaking. The last thing which I always keep in mind and do in each and every one of my speeches, or every time I speak to a large audience, is that I always remember that my hands and my mic are my wand, and my voice is my spell, and the thing that I'm going to do is just magic. Always keep this in mind. Okay, you might have seen that in every video of mine, I just keep on shaking my hands. Even certain people make fun of me, because that's the way I speak. If I feel something joyful, if it is coming out of my heart, my hands will show that in a proper way, because hand gestures can also be used in order to grab the audience attention. Okay, while you're doing something with your hands, the people will be following your movements throughout. If you're just standing erect and you're just speaking certain things, it will not look like a human being speaking at all. It will be so robotic, so mechanical. They'll not feel invested in your speech at all. So always, if you're trying to convey something, try to be natural. Okay, try to hang yourself loose, and always keep in mind that your mic and your hands are your wand and your voice is just a spell. That's all for today, and if you did find this video interesting and enjoyable and also informative, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. Also let me know some of the strategies which you use when it comes to public speaking. I'd like to know a lot about them. That's all for today. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, as I said before. Share it to your friends, and also if you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.